guess I want to start with Ms. Lupe's closing argument, which I wasn't able to respond to. She used the words common sense throughout her closing argument. Common sense would dictate that you do not know what happened in that house. No one in this courtroom knows what happened in that house. You don't even know if I was there. And I had to keep on listening to her say common sense tells you we know what happened. You don't know what happened. She doesn't know what happened. Then I had to listen to her bring up James Doolin's note, which obviously anyone, you don't even have to be a handwriting expert to know that this is a forgery. And then listen to James Doolin's testimony. It was just lies. I guess that, unfortunately, just goes along with Ms. Lupe's case, though. I'm a little flustered right now, I guess. There's a little bit too many emotions conflicting what I have to say right now. I probably would have been better off writing a prepared statement. I do want to keep on talking about things that Ms. Lupe has said, at least. Mine not showing any emotion. Now, again, Kevin Jawowski, my probation officer. Wow. You know, I've been misquoted so many times that it's starting to get really frustrating that I have to keep on hearing misquotes and things that I said that just flatly aren't true. I have a lot of emotion over this case. I don't think showing a great deal of emotion would have helped me a great deal. I know I did start to show some emotion over this during the grand jury testimony. I think trying to maintain a level head was what I needed to try and do. And the one time I did show emotion wasn't over the broken jaw I suffered, but the people that helped me, people that worked at St. Elizabeth's Hospital, which I feel was merited. I think they deserved emotion because these people helped me. Now, I maintained right from the beginning that this was self-defense. I don't see anyone capable of disproving that. I don't think you met any burden of proof whatsoever. I'm 35 years old. I have no criminal record. That means no history of violence whatsoever. During the 2 months that I was missing, not one person was harmed, not one crime was committed. You're making statements and judgments about someone you don't even know. And you're not even pretending to know, because you don't know. Everything you say, I guess, reflects a lot about you, unfortunately. So unfortunately, I do know at least something about you, because you're willing to say things about someone you just don't know. Now, part of that is your job. I know that you are trying to convict me. That's what your job is. But I think you've taken it too far. I guess I think that I very much so should have been able to ask potential jurors what their feelings were on the Second Amendment and the NRA, because that does have something to do with what their feelings towards self-defense are. I think that question should not have been stricken. Ms. Jackson, the stenographer, just misspelled Dowd, spelled D-O-W-D, in the Huntley hearing. That's very insignificant. During the grand jury testimony, the stenographer wrote, "place the hammer," whereas Ms. Lupe said, "plant the hammer." I did not plant the hammer, was what I responded to, not place the hammer, which did come into play during the trial. I guess I wish this didn't happen. I don't think this did have to happen. As far as my being helped by my grandmother, very much so, no. I unfortunately was misled by my grandmother when I was young, which I should not have. It just should not have happened. It did happen. It's in the past. I should not have ever relied on my grandmother. I should never have gone to my grandmother's house to live there. Both of these things were very much so a bad thing for my life. If that hadn't happened, I would have never been in this situation, and that has a lot to do with things my grandmother did, I guess, and it can't be undone. I wish that this all could be undone. Unfortunately, I did make very desperate phone calls in a few months before this incident occurred to both my father and my uncle, who both could very much so afford to get me out of my grandmother's house, which I pled with them to do. I wanted just some help, to just have 6 months to adjust to a different healthy situation and be able to get out of there. Because unfortunately I sort of fell into a very, very unhealthy situation where I was not living a life that I wanted to live, nor was I able to change in that environment. And my leaving that situation with the money I had not afford me the opportunity to readjust society the way I wanted to. I guess I've dealt with a great deal of economic problems in life. Unfortunately, I've had a lot of help in getting there. I guess I was relying on my grandmother, and that pretty much sunk me when I was very young. I went out traveling with a car that they bought me, and found out that I wasn't going to get the money I was going to need after I started traveling. I desperately wish I could undo that. I can't. That, I think, had a lot to do with why I've had so many economic problems in this world. Just because of the circumstances I was living in, the friends I knew, I ended up getting involved in squatting in the Lower East Side of Manhattan. Many other things sort of took hold, which you can't control when you're young. You can't control the environment you're in, or the mindset you're in. I wish that didn't happen. My grandmother sporadically helped me over the years, not to the extent that you would, if you had to live with the money I've lived in, the circumstances I've lived in, you would very much so say, no, I would not want that type of help if I was relying on it. You would very greatly wish you'd not lived in those circumstances. I guess, I think the media, unfortunately, has biased the potential jury pool so that I don't think I was capable of getting a fair trial in Oneida County. I mentioned that to both Mr. McCormack and Mr. Marthage. They both told me the trial would not be capable of being moved, so I sort of went along with it. I guess I'm very much so not a violent person. I can't prove what happened in that house. I don't think anyone can prove what happened in that house. I guess you're not protecting anyone in society from me if you put me in prison. Unfortunately, I think the opposite of that actually is occurring. You're putting someone in prison that doesn't deserve to be in prison, and you're putting someone in prison that would actually be much more likely to help people than hurt them. I think I've displayed that throughout my life. I don't think I can prove that to you because I'm not someone that's worked in a hospital. The people I've helped are people that I've met along my path. That it doesn't really matter. I think my criminal record speaks for itself. My history of violence speaks for itself. I don't know. I mean, I don't really know if my saying anything has any bearing on this predicament at all. I know the media's watching. I find that to be absurd. I mean, there's genocide occurring in Africa, yet we have 3 TV cameras pointed at me right now. I guess our media, unfortunately, is something I understand, but I disagree with what they follow, the way they follow it. I can't imagine what they would do if we were living in Nazi Germany and the Holocaust were occurring. It scares the hell out of me. I don't know. I follow our media very thoroughly. I'm sort of addicted to what our media writes about, so that's why this is even more bizarre for me to be in a situation where the media is following the situation myself. I also spend a lot of time studying history, and I don't know. I guess this is obviously a very bad predicament to be in. I didn't come with a prepared statement. I probably should think about the things Ms. Lupia said and make comments on them. I guess, I don't know. I think this isn't justice, but I also do not think that our criminal justice system has a great deal to do with justice. I think if you just look at things that have occurred throughout our criminal justice system's history, what it's based on, British common law, what things that occurred in this under this same legal system just different laws, we allowed slavery. I guess I very much so could be, under a very similar legal system, a Jew in Nazi Germany being, not that they would actually put me in trial, but they would condemn me to death in the gas chamber or concentration camp simply for being a Jew. So I guess our laws can change. Our laws, I do not think, are just. I think they're both classist and racist. I think our system is wrong. I do not have a solution for it. I also, I wish this had not occurred. If I could go back and make it not occur, I would very much so do that. It can't be undone. I've said it was self-defense from the beginning. It was self-defense. I don't think eye contact proves whether you're being honest or dishonest. Sometimes I look at people, sometimes I don't. I think you very much so know that you can lie to someone by looking at them. I think I can tell you the truth when I'm looking at you or not looking at you. I can't look at 12 jurors all at the same time. I guess I don't really know what to say right now. I guess I don't want to go on too long, obviously, but I don't know. Obviously, I will appeal this verdict. I don't think it was just. My basis for the appeal would be the media biasing, the jury pool in Oneida County, and James Doolin's note being an obvious forgery, his testimony being obvious lies. And I think they were so biased anyway that it didn't matter, but I will appeal this verdict. And I guess that's all I have to say at this time, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Herman. As I cut through all the verbiage that I just heard, I guess that it comes down to a bunch of things that you're saying. Number one, you're not guilty because Ms. Loopy used some incautious words in your mind.
I disagree with that.
You're not guilty because the stenographer put down some words wrong in a Huntley hearing.
No, that had nothing to do with it. Obviously,
and you're not guilty because it was Louise Herman's fault.
Because I was defending myself.
Okay, I don't really, this isn't a dialogue, this is a monologue at this point. I listen to you.
I'll try.
You need to listen to me.
I'll try.
The proof in this case was overwhelming.
I disagree with you. I can't.
I understand you disagree, and really, this is not a dialogue.
I'm trying, but if
no,
you're speaking...
I don't need you to question. I'm saying, just let me say what I have to say.
I understand.
Close the sentence.
You're asking me to be something I'm not. And you're asking me to talk to me and not respond to you, and that's a very difficult thing. I guess maybe if you talk to Ms. Loopy, I'll find that easier. But if you're going to talk to me, I'm going to have a very difficult time not responding to you. That's who I am. Okay? So maybe talk towards Ms. Loopy.
No, I'm talking to you.
Okay, then I'm going to respond.
I'm the one that's got to sentence you. Mrs. Loopy isn't going to sentence you. No one else is going to sentence you. I'm going to sentence you.
Then
I have to make that decision. You listen to what I have to say.
I am listening.
All right. The proof was overwhelming.
No, it wasn't.
I don't want to hear that anymore. The proof was overwhelming in this case. You knew exactly what you were doing on that day.
You were wrong.
Something triggered you that day. And it resulted in a violent and vicious act against your grandmother.
You were there?
I heard the proof in this case.
You were in the basement that day.
It was overwhelming.
You were there.
And you smashed her head repeatedly and violently and viciously into that metal support
You have some proof
several times. And that ultimately caused her death. And her death was caused because she was the only one in the family who would help you.
Oh,
she was the only one in the family who would take you in. And she suffered the consequences of that. You said it quite well, and Mrs. Loopy mentioned that in her statement, when you talked to the probation officer about this case, and I'm going to quote what you said. Guess what you told him.
I did not tell him.
I am not going to show any remorse or shed any tears for what I did. It was totally self-defense. And at another point, you indicated to Ms. Oleski that you wish you had never met your grandmother.
I do wish I never met my grandmother.
And I bet she wishes she never met you either, Mr.
Unfortunately, you don't know my grandmother, and...
So here we go. We're going to attack the victim again. Is that it, Mr. Herman?
Well, unfortunately, that's the only course of defense I had, was that she attacked me, so...
So this 82-year-old woman came at you with a hammer, and you
A
had
hammer's so
no,
heavy that an
you had no options
80-year-old
available.
woman that drives the Honda CR-V can't pick up a hammer.
And you had your only option available to you is to repeatedly, viciously, and violently smash her head into a support post in the cellar of that home. She took you in when no one else would, and yet you responded to that with this attack on that particular day.
I never wanted to go there. Okay. You got that story entirely wrong. I can't not respond.
Mr. Herman, you went there on several occasions because you had no place else to go, and she was the only one that would take you in.
I guess
many
you're just
occasions throughout
misinterpreting the
your
situation.
lifetime, she's the one that took you in. And what thanks did she get for?
I went there because I was relying on someone I shouldn't have relied on for money. Okay. I guess
I don't want to hear any more of your excuses.
I'm not making excuses. I'm telling you the facts.
You're not telling me the facts. The facts were overwhelmingly proved by the district attorney in this case that you murdered Miss Herman. You took her away from her family. You took her away from her friends on that particular day. The only regret I have is that I cannot impose a sentence longer or greater than the one I'm going to impose upon you. Because this is a vicious, violent crime that deserves a greater minimum than the one I can impose. The sentence of this court upon your conviction for murder in the second degree, you're sentenced to an indeterminate sentence of imprisonment, which you'll have as its maximum the remainder of your natural life and as its minimum 25 years. You're committed to the custody of the New York State Department of Corrections at Elmira, New York, there to be dealt with according to law. I also impose mandatory surcharge for crime victims and DNA fees of $320. I want to advise you at this time, Mr. Herman, you have a right to appeal this judgment of conviction. In order to do so, you must file with the clerk within 30 days of today's date a document called a notice of appeal. You can do that yourself. I'm sure Mr. Marthage will accommodate you and file that notice on your behalf if you request him to do so, or the clerk will do it. I want to advise you further that if you don't file the notice within the required period of time, that may result in the forfeiture of your right to appeal. Mr. Herman is all set.
All right. Thanks, Rich.
Okay, we'll take a short break and then we'll